Here we go. South Africans as refugees in America. What is super weird me about all this situation is the way that the president went out of his way to offer them the refugee status. It's so weird. They don't even ask him for it. They don't even ask for.
So, starting yesterday, the U.S. is receiving its first batch of white South African nationals that have been extended the privilege of coming to the United States as refugees from South Africa. This first batch is 8,000 of these people. So the American people didn't want this, don't want this. It's crazy because when Donald Trump took office, he discontinued almost entirely the refugee program, and there were like 22,000 people from different countries seeking refugee status, and in the process of receiving denial or approval for the refugee status to reside in the United States due to issues in their country, which are always based and caused by, no matter what they are, the destabilization that the United States and the West has caused at some point, some way. Donald Trump discontinued this program almost entirely and threw all of these 20-something thousand people back to their countries. You come to the United States as a refugee because you're fleeing political persecution or ethnic persecution, political blah, blah, blah. Forms of persecution. These Afrikaners are not being racially discriminated against, but I will tell you something, and I hope this is not taken the wrong way. I worked in South Africa in 2017 and 2018 for their National Assembly, and I was able to meet some of these characters because they have a party in the parliament there called the Vryheid something first party. It's a minority party, and their party fundamentals are based on the party is based on two fundamentals, okay? These are very racist people, the most racist shit I have ever heard in my life come out of these people's mouths. And the fundamentals of their party, their politics, is the staunch opposition to affirmative action and the staunch opposition to black economic empowerment. These people are descendants of the colonialists from the Netherlands. They came into South Africa in 1948 and before that, really, and stole all of the land. So they make up like 13% of the population in South Africa, and they own like 95% of the land. Like literally one person will have 20 or 25,000 acres that they and their lineage stole. And they are colonialist minded to this day. They are slave mentality, like slave owning mentality. They are, they exist in South Africa, and black people are not allowed where they live unless they have a permit for work, like a housemaid or something. And they're the cause for South Africa being one of the most unequal countries in the world, according to the World Bank, to this day. And while apartheid ended in 1990, you wouldn't know it going to South Africa by the way that the black people, the black South Africans, are treated versus these jackasses. And that is what they are. They are fucking ignorant, evil people. I mean, they call themselves Boers and shit like that. I'm telling you, the stuff that they say, and it's like every single one of them that I met that are almost 200 of them in this party. I didn't work for this party. This party is just in the assembly. All are like that. Like they are like in their regular conversation are like, black people don't have no intelligence. And this is the shit they say all the time, right? And it's why there's racial divide in South Africa like it is, because this minority still has a grip. So Donald Trump, at the behest of Elon Musk and Peter Thiel, with their insistence that these particular group of white people are facing racial discrimination because the National Assembly, the government of South Africa, has enacted a land back policy, which is technically expropriation without compensation, which you stole the land. You don't need to be compensated to have what you, one person, and they will tell you, we worked hard for this land. You didn't work fucking, this is what they believe. And it's 20,000 acres, and one person will tell you that his grandfather worked hard for the land. His grandfather came from Israel and the Netherlands and stole the land by murdering the people that had had it for generations. And these people that are coming to the United States, I do not like them. And nobody else is going to like them. They're not coming here because they are under oppression. They are coming here with a sense of entitlement and their wealth, and for a reason. But as they're being provided refugee status only as the exception to the rule, everyone else, no one gets this status ever again because the program is being discontinued. For 12 months at least, they have housing completely paid for. They have all of their food, all of their clothing, all of their amenities, cell phones and travel vouchers. In some cases, even they will be provided vehicles. Guess who pays for all of that when it comes down to the bottom sifting? U.S. taxpayer funds are who get those funds are derived from U.S. taxpayer funds. When everybody was yapping about the people that, like, Florida and Texas was flying to New York, the migrants last year and the year before that, and they were saying they're getting vouchers and they're getting free food and subsidies, and they weren't. Well, these 8,000 plus are going to get all of that for at least a year, and then after a year they'll be able to change their status to permanent legal resident. And half of the Afrikaners have an issue with coming to the United States as a refugee, but the ones that understand the agenda are the ones that are coming, and they're coming with entitlement and they're coming with wealth, and it's going to cause racial division. I'm just being straight up with you. These Donald Trump, Elon Musk, and Peter Thiel do not have any fucking good, genuine interest in the well-being of anyone, much less South African white people. And I'm just telling you that Zionism is all in it. Zionism and Nazism were in South Africa at the end of apartheid in 1990, deeper than what Nazism was at the height of Nazi Germany in the 30s and 40s. And we can't forget that in 1994, 4 years after apartheid ended, in the year that the first democratic election took place, conservatives in the U.S. Congress were wearing ribbons that said "Hang Mandela." And so this is the mentality of people that are coming here. And they have existed and maintained their apartheid mentality, and all that Truth and Reconciliation was just like denazification. It was all a sham and a show. And so these people are coming here and they're going to get U.S. taxpayer funded privilege for a year. Meanwhile, we're deporting U.S. citizens. We are at the threshold of suspending fucking the writ of habeas corpus. Due process is something that is scoffed at. There are more homeless people now than ever before, including children who are without house, without food, without electricity, without running water. But these privileged white racist MFers are coming here under the guise of a refugee so that everything is funded, but for a different agenda than what is being let on to the American people. And largely, the American people don't even know anything about this happening. But the administration is so about it that they're going to Dulles Airport with a welcoming ceremony with a flock of government officials. So this is, and the Jews are all in South Africa with the Afrikaners, training them to be snipers in an anticipation for this conflict over this land back measure that they do believe will escalate into a conflict at some point in the future. So I don't think that Americans should be welcoming to these people. I know that sounds, to some people on the surface of it, it might sound immature. And we don't want any of that racist shit here. We are dealing with our shit, but you will see when these people are here and it's attention on them that Americans, the American culture on white and black issues will make us look revolutionarily evolved compared to these backwards, knuckle-dragging white supremacists, because they are real white supremacists. They are white supremacist-minded currently. They are colonialist-minded Currently, they are apartheid minded currently, and they are slave master minded currently. And it's going to cause fucking chaos. And that is why I believe they're.
The white South Africans. Let's talk about it. So I posted a video talking about the white South Africans that are receiving refuge in the United States. And I've gotten a few comments, very few comments, from people who are claiming to be white South Africans that are trying to justify all this, that are trying to double down on the persecution, right? And I'm not saying that there might not be fucked up shit going on in South Africa to white people, but I want to put some different context on the situation, because I touched on the fact that we're kicking all the brown immigrants out of this country while allowing these white Africans to come here. But I'd like to touch on another matter, a matter that's actually personal to me. And I never make things about myself, but I'm going to touch on it here. I served in the United States Army. I did 8 years. I was on active duty service. I deployed to Iraq, was in a combat zone. But I'm not even going to talk about the combat part of it. Let's just talk about the service part of it, because I have a lot of veteran brothers and sisters who never saw combat but still deal with a lot of the same issues. I initially joined the Army when I was 19 years old because I had no direction, I had no discipline, and I had 2 kids who I couldn't take care of. So I had to make a decision that would be in the best interest of my family moving forward. Well, in doing that, it did a lot of damage. Emotionally, mentally. I have broken relationships with my kids. Relationships that I might never be able to mend because of my absence. We spend a lot of time in the field. We spend a lot of time training. We're away from our families a lot, even when we're not in a combat zone, but we're not deployed during war, which is when I served. I served during wartime. We spend a lot of time away from our families, even when we're stateside. That takes a toll on you and on your kids, or your wife, whoever, significant other. I've been out of the military for 10 years now, and I've had to fight to get the benefits that I'm supposed to be entitled to. And it's not just me. It's a lot of veterans who are going through that. They're not getting the disability ratings that they're entitled to. They're not getting the mental help that they're entitled to and that they need. I've been trying to see a mental health provider for the last 2 years. 2 years. I've been trying to see somebody for mental help. I'm calling the VA, telling them that I need help. I've been diagnosed with different medical conditions that have been connected to my service, but I can't get the disability rating. I work 7 days a week, 12 to 13 hours a day. I'm waking up at 4 o'clock every morning and going out and working. I'm working all day. I pick my kids up from school in the afternoon. I come home, I help them with their homework, I make them dinner. You know what I do after I'm done making them something to eat? I go back to work. And I'm doing that just to survive. So miss me with that bullshit, with that sob story, when my government is bringing your candy asses over here and providing you with housing and providing you with food when you already have all that shit back home. Fuck you.
Hey friends, I haven't come.
The white South Africans.
Hey friends, I haven't come to you from my closet for a long time, and I just wanted to explain the strange story about the 59 white South Africans who came to the country after the Trump administration signed an executive order in February establishing status for Afrikaners, the white ethnic minority in South Africa, after continuing to deny refugees from countries experiencing war and famine like Afghanistan and Sudan. So I wanted to tell you, in response, the Episcopal Church said it would terminate its partnership with the government to resettle refugees, citing moral opposition to resettling white Afrikaners. The statement said, "It's been painful to watch one group of refugees selected in a highly unusual manner receive preferential treatment over many others who have been waiting in refugee camps or dangerous conditions for years," the Most Reverend Sean Rowe, presiding bishop of the Episcopal Church, wrote. The process, of course, of becoming a refugee in the U.S. usually takes months to years, but this group was fast-tracked because, according to President Trump, quote, "White farmers are being brutally killed and the land is being confiscated in South Africa." Now, that is a claim that has been discredited by police data. Afrikaners are the descendants of European colonizers who came to South Africa 4 centuries ago and later established the system of apartheid, and that was back in 1948. So why did Trump do this? Well, it was in response to a law signed by the South African president seeking to address land ownership disparities in the country. During apartheid, white South Africans were allowed to seize land and resources from black South Africans, making the majority of the country's commercial farmland white-owned. And in fact, while white South Africans account for approximately 7% of the population, they still own 70% of the farmland in South Africa. I think it's important to note that allies of President Trump, including his advisor Elon Musk, who is South African and whose family benefited from apartheid, as well as Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller, have been vocal about what they say is the persecution of white farmers in South Africa. There's something new every day, isn't there, kids? There you go. Hey friends, I haven't come to you from my closet for a long
The fact that y'all done brought these outly racist white South Africans to America to try to make us think that they're refugees is befoggling my mind. I did some research. Well, I saw this man's post and did some research because he did some research. And it turns out they're not under attack. They're not refugees. No. South Africa now has a black president. And he is trying to right the wrongs that was done in the past, which means he's trying to give the land that was stolen back to the black South Africans. Now, the Trumpet and 3 of his rich billionaire friends, Alana, Daniel Sachs, and Peter Thiel and Daniel Sachs, whatever. 3 billionaire South African, white South Africans, racist white South Africans. They got together because they heard that South Africa now is going to have a black president. They didn't like it. So you brought your friends from South Africa who's fixing to lose their land because it was originally black African South Africans. And the new president is fixing to give it back to them. So they don't like it. So now you're bringing them over here and you want us to believe that they're under persecution. That just, they're being done so wrong. So you're bringing these you bring these outly racist people to America who is already under siege, but we shouldn't expect anything less because you're running the country. Now you're bringing them over here and you're giving them stuff that you won't even give the people who have earned it. Who have earned it. You're taking health care and stuff away from people, from veterans, Medicaid, Medicare, all of that stuff. Anyway, so yeah. Oh, and when they heard that the president was black in South Africa, you done cut the funding from America to South Africa. You know what? God don't like ugly, and that's fine. But whatever. So, yeah, I want y'all to do y'all's research like I did mine. It took me a whole bunch of times to make this video because I got frustrated or whatever, but yes, please go do your research and know and understand what's going on. There is so much behind the scenes that we don't know, that we need to learn, that we need to know. We need to know to protect us. So, have a nice day. Toodle.
The same day, the U.S. welcomed white South Africans as refugees, Afghans, who risked their lives to help our military were told to prepare for deportation. These Afrikaners, descendants of apartheid leaders, were flown in on a U.S. government jet. Trump called them victims of genocide and they waited just 3 months. But here's the reality. White South Africans still own most of the land and are far less likely to live in poverty than black South Africans. Yet, Trump's team said Afrikaners were welcomed because they're easier to assimilate. They'll get housing, phones, furniture, formula, and, according to Trump, citizenship. Meanwhile, Afghan interpreters, engineers, and soldiers, the ones who helped us, are being told it's safe to go home. Safe? The UN says those same allies are being hunted down and killed. So, what does it take to be a refugee in Trump's America? It's about power, race, politics, and who gets to be called a victim. On the same day, the U.S. welcomed white South Africans as refugees, Afghans, who risked their lives to help our military were told to prepare for deportation. These Afrikaners, descendants of apartheid leaders, were flown in on a U.S. government jet. Trump called them victims of genocide and they waited just 3 months. But here's the reality. White South Africans still own most of the land and are far less likely to live in poverty than black South Africans. Yet, Trump's team said Afrikaners were welcomed because they're easier to assimilate. They'll get housing, phones, furniture, formula, and, according to Trump, citizenship. Meanwhile, Afghan interpreters, engineers, and soldiers, the ones who helped us, are being told it's safe to go home. Safe? The UN says those same allies are being hunted down and killed. So, what does it take to be a refugee in Trump's America? It's about power, race, politics, and who gets to be called a victim.
Okay guys, this is not a family headed to Disneyland. This is actually now the only group of refugees being allowed into the US, and yes, they look a little different. All refugee admissions have been frozen, except for one group, white South Africans. Trump not only fast-tracked their entry, he even paid for their flights and is giving them citizenship. Now let's back up. South Africa was racially segregated until 1994. That system left white South Africans, who were just 7% of the population, owning about 75% of private farmland. Now, only 1% of whites live in poverty compared to 64% of black South Africans. But now some white South African farmers are now saying they're the ones being racially targeted with violent farm attacks and land confiscations. But actual police report data doesn't really show significant danger to white farmers. And while South Africa did recently approve a law allowing land seizure, the government insists no land has been taken so far, and that the law is similar to US laws, which allow the government to seize private land to build public things like highways. Now compare this to actual war-torn and famine-facing countries like Sudan and Syria, where brutal civil wars have created millions of refugees escaping real violence and facing extreme famine. The South African government even released an official statement saying that it was ironic that the US was giving refugee status to a group that is amongst the most economically privileged in the entire country.
Please don't forget to follow.